want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Good day, Mad Men Mafia.
I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you. And that guy over there, we haven't introduced him in a while. That's Mr. Brett Zachman, otherwise known as Zach of B Man. How we doing, Zach?
What's up, fellas?
You're not new around here, Zach. You've been on here before, man. You got refrigerator rights.
I'm a known entity now.
Yeah, you got refrigerator rights, man. So
refrigerator rights. I like that. What exactly does that entail?
Well, that means you can go in the refrigerator, but if you get somebody that don't leave a corner left in the jug, you know, that's all. Don't leave a little corner. Don't team me. You know, teens be doing that nonsense, man. Don't leave a corner left in the milk jug or the orange juice, because that be driving me crazy.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah. Man, this is this time of year. We actually are as we record this anyway, are at the very tail end of June, which, you know, as June being a men's mental health month, we talked about that. One of the things that we just also observed, celebrated, whatever words you want to use, in the month of June is Father's Day. And there's a lot of opinions about Father's Day out there. Some male comedians have some pretty colorful opinions about Father's Day. But we won't go there. We'll keep it on the up and up. But you know, as men, we didn't get here by accident. So if nothing else, at minimum, we all have, or at least had, a father be part of our equation of being here. And some of us actually, still have one around walking the face of the earth. Some of us don't. Some of us, are fathers. Some of us are not. But in any case, as men, we all got a different perspective on this whole thing. And, Zach, you are the grand poobah of bmen.org, 501c3. You have made it part of your mission and purpose to carry the weight of manhood and masculinity in this world, and to try to advance the ball down the field for men in general, man. And not only that, obviously we know each other very well. You are a dad. You have a dad. You probably know a lot of dads. So we just gonna get into it today, man. And I mean, quite simply, our father's important.
Oh man, yeah. So I know we're gonna get into live stories, right? Like there's some thoughts out there. We won't get too cerebral with this, but I was talking to a couple of ladies just literally within the last week who for Douglas County, which is one of the largest counties in the state of Colorado, they are looking for initiatives, right, post-COVID with federal funded monies to go after male wellness and to go after suicide, male suicide prevention. And then we started talking about fatherhood. And so they kind of talked about, well, there's quantitative data and there's qualitative. And quantitative is spit all those numbers out, longitudinal studies, and people are like, yeah, fall asleep. And quantitative is the live story. But just to hit, since you asked that direct question, some of the quantitative stuff, and then we'll get into the quality. So I pulled this, I don't even remember, this is like within the last 5 or 10 years. But if you think fatherhood is not important, we just posted this for Father's Day on the B-Men site. Children from fatherless homes are 5 times more likely to commit suicide, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, 10 times more likely to have some type of substance abuse, 14 times more likely to commit rape, 20 times more likely to have behavioral dysfunctions, 20 times more likely to end up in prison, and 32 times more likely to run away. Now, if you read those numbers and you're still not impressed, then I'm going to throw down one of the big 3, as we call it, which is the National Fatherhood Institute out of DC, put out about 10 or 12 years ago. that they approximate 1 in 3 kids are growing up with no involvement with their biological dads. That is somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 million with an M children. When I read that, I almost fell off my 4th floor balcony and died figuratively, because I thought for a moment, that's not a number. That's like a tsunami of societal ills heading our way, and I pray to God that we're prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, in a word for me, priceless. Priceless.
Wow.
Fatherhood is priceless.
Wow. That's absolutely. I mean, it's astonishing. I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised when you look at our culture, when you look at our society. I'm not surprised you see those numbers. I mean, if you look inside of our criminal justice system, which in my opinion is not necessarily based on criminal justice, more so criminal housing and criminal incarceration. But in any case, yeah, I mean, I'm sure those numbers play out. Those numbers play out in gang violence. Those numbers play out in all the darkest places of our society. All of those numbers that you said, man, and it's scary. And also, what's scary is the fact that I don't perceive that any of that is really recognized largely in our culture and our society.
I would say it's, when we talk about societal ills, some are popular and some are not. And for some reason, in my research of like philanthropy, to me, philanthropy 101, so sort of nonprofit work in general. And I'm a man, so we got to oversimplify this, right? So there's 3 groups of humans, but I know we have a certain alphabet now. So let's just talk kind of men, women, children. It seems to me so many times we figure out how to categorize those 3, and we categorize women and children as needing help or help less. And then we just kind of under the table in a whisper and not with our outside voice, we say, men, Jason, Kirk, Zach, help yourself, right? Except I'm 55, and if you look at the numbers over my entire lifetime, the whole last half century, that's not working. Men are not helping themselves better. All the numbers that you would want to look at, whether it's vocation, college education, salaries, yeah, it's just it's not happening.
And it doesn't have to be a zero sum game, in my opinion. Like in order to advance advance men and to speak on male health and wellness, and in other words, to pursue an endeavor like making men in general better, does not mean that women and children are not important. It doesn't mean that in order to do one, you have to somehow ignore the other, or somehow, for us to advocate for men, somehow we're saying that, that women are the problem or any of that kind of stuff. Or it's not a zero sum game. And quite honestly, and we're all lockstep in this whole philosophy that when you make men better, you make women and children better.
Oh yeah, period. End of story. So like statistically, being men is apt to say as a question, we're not so bold as to say, hey, here's the facts. But what if men are the epicenter of societal trauma? Because if you track back self-abuse, spousal abuse, and child abuse, 80% or more, it's the ill health of a man that is the root cause. So when we say domestic violence is a woman's issue, that's a complete misnomer, if not just a complete oxymoron. No, it's a male issue, because if men get healthier, right, our equation says this: if men get healthier, women become emotionally and physically safer. Not my opinion, statistical fact. If that happens, then traditional partnerships can remain intact, which means you can have a more functioning household, which means kids grow up with a fighting chance to become healthy adults because they've avoided ACEs. So a man gets better, and the ripple effect, you can't even quantify it at that point, right? Because of all the women, children, youth, etc., other men that they're around, it makes them better, it makes their loved ones better, it makes society better. And so I think, like, going back to another cliche of like iron sharpens iron. Okay, so if we make the strong stronger, then all of society gets better. But it does not seem to be a popular idea right now. And honestly, I wonder this because I just started watching that interview, the Netflix documentary on the manosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in the information age, I've been saying for a long time, like negativity and Nielsen ratings are lockstep. Now the younger crowd's like, what the hell is a Nielsen rating? Wow, it was stuff
Mhm.
like about TV. But now in the information age, you know, Snap and IG and TikTok and all that stuff, like shock and awe and drama and negativity, like if it bleeds, it leads, you know, that phrase. That's what gets all the sound bites. So if you've got these guys on the fringe, that's exactly what they're preaching, right, Kirk? They're saying up
Mhm.
with men, down with women, right? Because being up with men is more tyrannical. It's like I'm the man, and the rest of you can just go to hell. Whereas we're saying no, we're protectors, we're providers, right? And so we get better. That makes everyone around us better. And honestly, if you're not about making women safer, I'm not sure that's a part of the man code.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
that's something, especially as we kind of move into this first break, that, Kirk hit it right on the head. It's not a zero sum game. The work that we do and be men and on this show is about making men better for women and children, for communities, for the world. It's not about making men better to rule over, this whole patriarchal idea of, oh, men are own everything and so it's bad for women. It's, everything that most men own, they give it to the women anyway. The top 80 male billionaires made it themselves, and the top 80 women got it from the men. And it's an awful statistic, and the women hate it, but it's true because that's what we do as men. We want to make the lives of our women and children better. And so
Yeah.
by us
Mhm.
wanting to promote fatherhood, to promote male wellness, to promote men, is not about putting someone else down, but making men better so that they can be better fathers and better in the community and better in all different ways. And so as we hit this first break, let's think about how are we making fatherhood more important nowadays versus less important. So we're the Mad Men of Masculinity. You're listening to us on KLDC or on the internet worldwide, and we'll be right back.
Boom. Nice.
I'm glad you guys covered that. I don't know what was going on, but my stuff was all kind of glitchy, so I didn't even try to talk.
I could totally tell you
Really?
weren't on. I could tell just enough just experience and time. Like I could tell he wasn't plugged in at
Yeah,
all. Like
I don't know if there was something going on in the
something was
background and
happening.
my assistant was trying to, back it up or something, but I was like, "Oh, no." But you guys seem to be going
Okay.
on okay, so I just let it go. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like,
I could
I'm not
totally
sure that
tell.
will disappear.
I was like he can't. He's glitching. There's a glitch in the matrix. I can tell.
Yeah,
Man, sorry about that, brother.
it's all good. You guys had it. You handled it. You
Yeah.
you bossed it out. So now we're back. Now we're back in the game.
Right on, right on.
It's only awkward when there's just the two of us and one of us glitches, then the other one has to just ramble and ramble and ramble
Yeah.
until the other one all of a sudden jumps back in. Uh, so yeah. All right, let's
All
rock
right.
and roll.
Ready?
Time to hit it.
Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC, 1220 AM in the Mile High City, on the interwebs, everywhere. Holler at your boys,
Everywhere.
YouTube, Facebook, all them kind of places, man. Put a comment in and let us know where you're from. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Which one of us looks better on any particular day? However you want to do that, man. You can feel free to do that, man. Today we are kicking down the doors of we're not even trying to tiptoe around sensitivity. If somebody's offended, if you're offended by men getting better, healthy men getting better, then you just don't have to be offended today. We're just not going to be worried about being too pro men. I mean, this ain't us banging on our chests talking about dominance and all this other kind of stuff. This is us talking about making men better. And as we just kind of finished up, essentially what I heard is that, when men are better, men become like the tide. And when the tide comes in, all boats rise. Um, and so for us to do this kind of work, man, should never be a bad thing. And any good, healthy woman, any good, healthy, even half a sense of mind kid would want a man in their life, a healthy, good man in their life. And if you don't, then the problem is you. It ain't us. So we ain't even going to tiptoe around this conversation today. We're going to talk about getting men better. And so, so again, we got our main man, Zach on, Brett Zachman, founder of B Men. We're going to get to talking about the summit we got coming up here pretty soon. We'll talk about that in a little bit, and what's going down. But just in general, Zach, as you've been on this journey with B Men and advancing manhood, I mean, what are maybe one or two areas where men, where there's room for men to get better? And we're going to own our own stuff too, right? I mean, we're going to own our own, our own trash on the corner. Let's take the trash out. Let's be real. So, what kind of stuff, Zach? What areas of men's lives is there room for improvement?
I think the biggest thing we tend to talk in metaphors and analogies with B Men. And the first one we talk about is this coin metaphor, right? Because there's two sides, not 20 or 200. Let's keep it simple. And the first side is awareness. Like, are you aware of what is happening at any level? And then once you gain that awareness, flip that coin over, and what are you prepared to do with that newfound awareness? What action are you going to take, right? Because I heard a pastor say, hey, we're not human doings, we're human beings, but men are both. Like, we can't just be beings all the time. We got to go do stuff, right? Get stuff done. Sorry, get stuff done. And so I think culturally, we've not gotten a message that's helpful. For me, at the age of 34, going into personal divorce and everything that brought about, I was living a very external life. I wanted to try and control and manipulate and leverage and make better all these external factors of a job and a boss and a house and cars and kids and a spouse and family. And the reality was I was going to lose that game. Like, as a former athlete looking at life through the lens of, hey, this is a game to be won or lost, I'm losing no matter what, because I can't control any of that. And yet the one thing that I could control is the last thing in the world that I'm actually focused on, which is me. And what's going on inside of me? What are my thoughts? What are my feelings? What are my reactions? Where did I come from? I'm half of my dad, I'm half of my mom. What did I learn? What was imprinted upon me in my childhood, in my house, in growing up in the church, in whatever they told me in the educational system? And so I think right now for men, it's not that you got to relearn everything, guys. It's that you got to take a moment to step back, breathe in deep, and think for a moment, okay, why do I think what I think? And what am I feeling? Because so many times we're told, well, you don't have feelings. Oh, no. Men are figuratively and literally dying because females are, feelings are not a feminine thing. That's a lie. We're human beings, right? And so you have feelings in the moment you can kind of sit back and start to self-evaluate. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling that? What thoughts am I having because of that? What do I want to do?
Yeah, there's something that came up for us and comes up for us a lot, but you kind of hinted at it, is that don't believe your own thoughts and question even the things you think, because how we're raised in this whole don't be emotional, suck it up, be a man, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, the world's on your shoulders. That can be a lot of pressure. It can be a lot of emotional pressure, and then we're not taught how to deal with the emotions. And then when you're not taught how to deal with the emotions, you're not taught how to question even your own thoughts, then they're real to you. When that little voice in your head says you're nothing, you're worthless, you're unlovable, you lost the job, you lost the money, you lost the wife, so that means you're nothing, you're a piece of poo. And you
Right.
hear those thoughts in your head, you believe those thoughts in your head. And I think that's something nowadays, to your point, we don't need to throw away the baby with the bathwater. There's lots of good traditional masculinity out there, but we need to update it quite badly. And the hugest update, I think, is understanding male emotions, understanding our thought patterns, where they come from, and how to deal with them in a new way. Because the old way is not serving us at all. It leads to the bottle and to the grave most days.
Yeah, I mean, getting back to our culture, we literally keep inventing new ways to numb out.
Yep.
Right. So the moment you start to have that negative whatever it is, let's say you had a fight, let's say you didn't get the promotion at work, right? Let's say your 16-year-old just pissed you off to the point where you're like, yeah, you're not going to live to see 17, I don't think. But tag, your mom's in so you don't die. Or you just had that knockdown drag out with the wife and now you're, tearing up the highway at 100 miles an hour, whatever the case might be. Culturally, we're not helping ourselves, right? Because culturally, we're just saying, hey, yeah, that's just the way it is. But then you got to start thinking, do some research and understand that your mind is going to find negative way faster than it's going to find positive. So we talk at Be Men, like, what can you focus on something positive? What happened today that was something positive for you? Hey, I woke up. Hey, positive. Like, one more day vertical. That's positive. Or, take a moment, walk out of that room after you can settle your nerves. What's one thing you like about your wife? I mean, there's got to be one thing, right? Okay. Now then go back and re-engage based on that one thing from a more positive lens.
Yeah, Zach, you dropped this word in just briefly a few minutes ago, and the word was coding in terms of our culture and the way we for lack of a better word, our computer gets programmed as we're growing up, and and what that results to when we become men, and especially in the case of being a father and those sorts of things. I believe one of those lines of coding that gets put in our male psyche is the whole notion of being measured by wins and losses, and being valued by wins and losses. And for whatever reason, it seems like it's easier anyway for us to be more judged by our losses than our wins. Uh, Maybe by the world around us, by the circle around us, definitely within this circle right here. It's a lot easier to hold on to that L that we took, to your point, as opposed to looking for the dub. And you being a former athlete, surely you've lost a game at some point, and after that game, your coach probably gives you a little bit of time to kick rocks and do all that kind of stuff. But guess what? The very next day, if not that same day, the pivot is on to the next one. And it's focused on getting that W next time and not the L that you just experienced. But that coding a lot of times has us placing value on the wins and losses, or your at bat percentage kind of thing.
Right. So we talk a lot about that your brain is hardwired for 10 or 20,000 years. You have a negative neural bias, right? As Chris Natsky in our group says. What does that mean? It means it's going to bend negative and focus on whatever's. You could have 100 things going on, 98 are good, 2 are bad. Your brain will spend 90% of its time on the 2 and completely ignore the 98. Because it's been hardwired that way for these millennia, that I have to focus on the negative because the negative might kill us. Well, yeah, back in the day, if a saber-toothed tiger wanders into the encampment at the middle of the night, everybody's dead. So, but we don't live in that world anymore, right? So it's getting to understand what is your brain doing and why. And now you know that you're in charge. It's like a muscle. So My brain's not in charge of me. I'm in charge of the brain. So now let's do that. And then, so that's disconnecting that circuitry. And then the other circuitry that you talked about is the external versus the internal. So we do live in a results-oriented world. So until you live on a different planet, in a different world at a different time, not in the United States of America, well, we just have to play by the Monopoly game rules that we've been given. So we're in a results-oriented world. But if we confuse results as an external measuring stick for our identity, then we're doomed. And I've been trying to tell guys this. I had to figure it out myself because I went through financial ruin almost twice. Okay, well, if I measure myself by wealth and I lose it all, who am I? I'm nobody. I'm nothing. I don't have a wallet. But wait a minute. Like I've heard this analogy said, okay, so a rose bush, before it's a rose bush, is just a seed. Like it's nothing. It's this little grain of thing that you put in the soil. But later, maybe it's 2 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet tall. It's got 20 blooms on it. It's incredibly crimson red. And so one of my mentors said, when did it become a 10 and when was it not a 10? Because the seed, the seemingly nothing, created this vibrant, glorious piece of foliage. Same thing with a man, right? We never would tell a baby or an infant, a 2-year-old, hey, you're nothing until you get muscles and a fat wallet and a Lamborghini, like the manosphere, right? Get this supermodel, the supercar, the super condo, and now you arrive. You're a man. What? No.
Yeah, that's the world we live in. And speaking of the world we live in, it's time for us to take ourselves another break. So we'll be right back with Brett Zachman of B-Men right after this. We are the Mad Men of Masculinity. This is KLDC.
Nice, good time.
Thanks,
Good
man.
time there. But man, and it's when we scoreboard watch.
Yeah.
As men, I mean, that's a component, or I mean, that's basically the very definition of comparison. But either way, when we scoreboard watch, man, we have no choice but to look for value from the world, which we're never going to get that validation. We're never going to get that you've arrived. You're in sales, right? So at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter, they're never going to say, "Man, you hit your numbers. You hit your numbers. You're great. You're done." No, they're going to say, "You hit your numbers. That's great. Now, what can you do next quarter? What can you do for me lately?" So, we judging who we are by what we've accomplished is a recipe for failure.
Yeah, I mean, comparison is just the mother of what's the quote? The mother of anger.
Don't they say it's a thief of joy or something like that? Yeah, I've heard somewhere like comparison is a thief of joy. I don't know where I got that from.
Yeah,
I think you're right. All right, post break.
All right, let's get into the summit.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, your boys are back.
We're back.
Your boys are back. It's like what was that back in movie 48 Boys Are Back in Town? Remember that song? I forgot who sung that. 48 Hours, Pet Shop Boys and something. I don't know, man. That's way back in the day, man. Axel Foley. The boys are back in town. Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC. Man, we're getting into the stuff, man. We're getting into the trenches, talking about fathers. Are fathers important? All those kinds of things with our guy. If we were the 18, he would be face. And that would be Brett Zachman. I would be B.A. Baracus. Jason, you'd be Murdoch.
Father, let me ask you guys, is fatherhood important?
Yeah, I mean it is, and before we even, I want to jump straight into what B-Men has kind of in the works here, Zach. I don't want to squeeze this into the last 30 seconds of our talk today. So I mean, talk to me about the B-Men Summit that's coming up.
Yeah, so we now have, this will be our third annual event, and we call it the Men Summit. And Men is an acronym thanks to the council, what we came up with, Masculine Empowerment Network. So we all know a summit, right? The greatest summit on the face of planet Earth is Everest, right? And that gets talked about and vaunted. And so, but again, and not external but internal. So men, what is your summit? What is that thing, right? Or things? Is that a wonderful relationship? Is that better at your vocation or your career? Is that fatherhood, right? I would like to be dad of the month, right? In my children's eyes. And so we're going to do this for the third time this year. We're pushing it out, give ourselves a little more time for planning. It'll be October 24th. So the third Saturday of October, October 24th at the Village Workspace. If you don't know where that is in Denver, go to Topgolf and then turn left. Everybody knows where Topgolf is, right? In the DTC area. 9 to 4. It's going to be a day-long workshop. We'll kick it off with some coffee and donuts. You get a taco bar lunch. So don't worry about breakfast and lunch, fellas. We'll have 2 speakers in the morning, 2 speakers in the afternoon, kind of TEDx style. But then we're going to be focused on, in the last 2 years, we really got feedback that we were pushing information, right? Lots of speakers, lots of info. And this year, we're going to try to pull. And what we mean by pull is you're going to get a chance to interact with the other men around you. After every speaker, we're going to have some kind of small group or one-on-one or session for you to learn and grow, right? And opportunities to interact with our small business sponsors. And we're going to focus on, B-Men talks a lot about the 5 pillars of male wellness. You know, where are you emotionally, financially, mentally, physically, spiritually? And we're going to go find 4 speakers who are vibrant and dynamic that you are not going to want to miss. I promise you that. So this is going to be, don't miss it. It's only $50 to attend all day, and you get breakfast and lunch. And talking about fatherhood, we've opened this up for youth ages 13 to 17. Now they can't come alone, right? So as long as they're with a guardian, an uncle, a big brother, a dad, a stepdad, as long as an adult buys 1 ticket, full boat, that youth comes free, no charge.
Wow, I didn't know that part. Man, that's what a bargain, dude. I mean, gee, you must got deep
Right?
pockets, man. You footing the bill for this whole thing, man. Man, I didn't know that part. That sounds awesome, man. I'm so excited for that, especially kind of new location, new format, new feel, new vibe, all those kinds of things, man. I'm deeply excited about all of that. Do you know? Do you already? I mean, I don't know the answer to this. Do you already know the general topics or general areas that we're gonna cover?
We are going to announce that coming, could happen July 4th, Independence Day. So
Mm.
the launch tickets and launch our topics July 4th, your Independence Day, fellas. And all you got to do is go to www.bmen.org/summit.
Mm.
And it'll be right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I was hoping to set you up for the pitch for how to get tickets and how to get more info, and it worked. It's funny
Yeah.
how I know you well enough to know what to pitch. Man, that is awesome, man. I'm so excited about that whole thing. Um, can I get real with y'all for a minute
Yes.
Yes, please.
here in this segment? And I have this theory. I have this theory that most every man has one of 4 father wounds.
Okay.
And again, even between the 3 of us, you got 2 sons. I got a son, 3 daughters, 2 granddaughters, and blah blah blah. JBK, you still in the works with all that stuff. But in any case, I have a theory. But we're all sons, right? And
Yeah.
so my theory is that most every man has one of 4 father wounds, and those are a
What you
father that was absent from the home, a father that was absent in the home, a father that was abusive, or a father that set such a high bar that the son could never please the father. What are y'all thoughts on any of that?
Well, I know for my experience, it was the father was in the home for the most part, kind of emotionally absent and very critical. So kind of set that high bar. So it definitely sets you up for a mindset that may not be the most healthy and something that we as men have to address as we get older. Because, for a lot of us, dad's not here anymore. Can't blame him anymore. He did the best he could with what he had. You got what you got. Now it's time to turn that around, turn that coal into a diamond. But it takes work. And I think one of the things we keep talking about, and one of the reasons we do the summit, and we do Be Men, we do all these things is because if we're not doing the work, if we're not asking the questions, if we're not putting a spotlight on the pain, then we don't know what to talk about. We don't know what to address. And so that's why we do this show. That's why Zach does Be Men. That's why we're all part of that. Because when we're left out to our own devices, we just numb. And because that's what the world tells us to do. Suck it up, be a man, don't cry. And that's unhealthy. For lack of a better term, it's just unhealthy. And so my experience was I had to address a lot of my childhood wounding. I had to address the fact that my father was actually just a normal, regular old human being. He wasn't the god on the pedestal that I tried to make him, and that he made his mistakes. He did the best he could. And I'm sure you guys could echo that as well. It's like, yeah, our dads weren't perfect. They did the best they could with what they have. And we got left with whatever garbage we got left with. And now it's time to sort through that garbage, find the recycling, throw the rest of it away, and see what we can make out of it.
Mm.
Yeah, the thing that comes to mind, a couple of things for me, Kirk, is one, I like those four. It's pretty all encompassing. I would say for my dad in the home, well, because I know you're saying absent, meaning like fatherless, which I hate that term. That's a it's a fictional term. It doesn't exist.
Mhm.
But my dad was in the home, but not in the home. And quite frankly, at 55, I think there's an entire generation, so millions, maybe tens of millions of men that lived that experience. Because when you think from 50s to 80s in this world at this time in capitalistic America, men worked and women stayed home and raised the kids, which means for 40, 60, 80, 100 hours a week, that man was physically not present. Therefore, physically not present means you don't get the modeling, right? Talking about generational modeling, you don't know what a father looks like, acts like, smells like, behaves like, because he's physically not in your presence for you to be able to see that. So, I've come to grips with my dad and my childhood, and we did that a couple of decades ago. Thank goodness. He's still with us. He's 81. But I think for every man out there who's listening to this right now, brother, like if I hear about a man, my first question about who he is in the world, what's his relationship with his dad? I think that's the start of the waters. So, fellas, that should be your first question. What is my relationship with my dad? Good, bad, or ugly? Or D, all of the above. Start there and then start to dig, right? And if that means you just dig on your own, to JBK's point, dad's gone. Okay, well, you can't do it together. So do it on your own. But if he's still here at some point, you might want to try and address that. And then, as we all know, the whole absent father thing, the longing is a real thing. You don't believe me? Go read a Brene Brown book. She'll tell you all about it. And she's considered an expert in America. That's why gangs exist, right? Because they're looking to replace the male role model, the father. And they'll replace that with an OG.
Yeah. I'll tell you that, and again, this is just me being real for context. My father was absent from the home in terms of he was incarcerated in mental hospital. When he was home, he was whacked out on whatever else, and there was abuse and all that stuff in the home. And I never heard him say, "I'm proud of you," and all these other kind of things. And so somehow I ended up being just the statistical anomaly to everything you talked about in the beginning. But I say all that for context because one of the most important lessons I had to learn was to forgive my father. And he died, 30 years ago last month, right? So so I can't have a conversation. I can't punch him in the face. I can't any of that kind of stuff. All I have to do, all I'm able to do is just to, forgive him from the inside out. I was just at his grave last week, as a matter of fact, and when I look down at his grave, I see my name, Kirk M. Samuels. And so, but the ability to forgive, man, that's the most freeing thing we can do. And the reality of knowing that, hell, if I had his story, I might be a whole lot like him. Like the stuff that he went through, in the same way I need my kids to forgive me for all the ways that I fell short, I need to forgive him in all the ways that he fell short. So, the work that we need to do personally, especially in terms of identifying through our father stories, is to forgive the guy. Forgive the guy. He was probably playing the best hand he was dealt, and he was probably dealt a bunch of deuces or whatever. I don't even play cards. Whatever the worst kind of cards are, he's probably dealt a terrible hand. Um, so yeah, I think forgiveness of our fathers is hugely important.
Yeah, and I think it's time for us to forgive our fathers and ask the honors to forgive us because it's time for our third break. So we'll be right back. We're the Mad Men of Masculinity. That's Brett Zachman. We'll see you in a minute.
Wow, brother.
Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
That's impactful.
And this is something for the in betweens. Zach, you're at the age and stage in life where you're the in between generation. Your dad's still here. I think he had a birthday not too long ago, did he? Did I see him have a birthday?
Yeah, actually, just last week, the 24th.
Yeah.
So.
So you have your dad, but then you also have your sons, and so you're in that in between phase of
Right.
and I can't relate to that at all. Like what that is like. But the other phases of at some point probably you'll be at the you'll be on deck. You'll be in the on deck phase, and man, that's a whole different phase of fatherhood when you're in the driver's seat, when you're the next one.
Yeah, and I think right now with my sons being grown, 25 and 24, I get the most satisfaction of seeing that A, they have a plan or a path. B, theirs, not somebody else's, not mine, their mom's, their grandpa's, whatever. And C, they're working that plan or they're walking that path. So they're are they facing challenges? Absolutely. But are they getting their small, medium, or large size victories? Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And can I say, well, that's all because of me? No. Can I say that's in spite of me? No. It's somewhere in the middle, right? Some of it maybe because of me, some of it maybe is in spite of me.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because you guys obviously know RJ pretty well. If you listen to him tell the story, oh my God. I mean, I like poured out some oil on his head and anointed him with all these gifts to be great and all the stuff that he's doing now. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea, man. I mean, I wish that I could, I wish I was as great as he, can make me out to be at times. But to your point, but at the same time, I adopted a kid at 6 that if you want to look at the statistics of fatherlessness, look up the statistics of kids that grow up in foster care, right? And so, the whole idea of adopting a kid out of foster care and giving him whatever it is I had, maybe that did something. So anyhow, all right. I mean,
you look at that time in your life too, like setting that example, like whether you taught him or intentionally. I mean, he still got that example of you being the best version of yourself, becoming the better version of yourself, while he was growing up with you. So, we teach by example, we teach by, teaching, and sometimes we, teach by not.
Yeah. He also had a comparison. He had a biological father that was, I mean,
So the
that
bar
was so bad that the kids got taken away from him and put in foster care. Put it that way.
yeah, the
So
bar was
he
low.
had that comparison. So that's a factor in there too. So all right,
All right.
let's rock
Fourth
and roll.
quarter.
Finish this thing up. Fourth quarter time. We got Brett Zachman on the line. He's a former quarterback. He knows the fours. He knows that fourth quarter time. It's time to it's time to close this game out, man. It's time to do this thing. We're talking about our father's importance, man. And, I mean, it's kind of a duh question, but in our culture,
Well, nowadays, not so
it's
much.
that's what I'm saying. In our culture these days, man, it's something that we gotta, we really gotta check because if fathers are important, then maybe we should act like it
Yeah.
as a society.
Absolutely. I think it should be Father's Month or Father Week. And maybe one of the things I was just thinking that struck me while we're on the break and some of the things you were saying, this whole idea of quality time is bunk.
Mm-hmm.
There's not quality time, there's just time.
Mm.
And the people around me that loved me in a split family since our sons were 3 and 1. So I've been a single divorced dad for 23 years now. People around me really helped me, mentored me, and said, hey, you only get this time once when they're 6 or 8 or middle school or learning to drive or what have you. And so this whole idea around, well, you got to make Magic and Disney and Braveheart and you got to keep up with the Joneses down the street, or worse yet, you got to keep up with your former spouse. She took them to Aspen, so you should just take them to the Alps. Like, no, I've actually had that conversation with my sons. And lo and behold, Saturday night drive-in where we threw the mattresses from their bunk beds down on the hardwood floor in the living room, and we just watched Marvel movies, or when they were younger, Disney movies, and we ordered in pizza and then fell asleep on the floor, and I woke up with an aching back and could barely walk. They remember that more than a 5-day cruise that cost everybody $5,000 a piece, right? So it's just time. Like, dads, just be there, be involved. And if you are doing Saturday night driving or you're on the cruise, don't be that guy that's sunning yourself and the kids are who God only knows where, right? Go play.
Yeah.
Be in the mix, man. Be there. Be present.
Yeah, I mean, we talked on the break a lot about kind of the different examples and whatnot. And I think to your point, it's just about being there and not being perfect. It's just about being there and being who you are for your kids, because they're going to emulate some things and they're going to rebel against some things. It seems like in my experience with all my friends, with their kids, there seems to be those kids that are like them and those kids that are opposite them. And, in both situations, it's like that kid chose you to be their father for some reason. And so just being there to give whatever example it is, whether they emulate you or rebel against you, it's like, it's important just to be there and have that. I don't think that, whole Hallmark Disney movie, if you got to make magic every time you hang out with your kids, you just got to hang out with your kids.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a fib, right, JBK?
Mm-hmm.
It's a total fib.
Yeah.
And they're not going to watch you. Do you really want your kid to learn how to be a man from Snapchat and TikTok and some influencer selling garbage? Like, really? You don't think you can do better than that? Come on, brother. Give yourself more credit than that. You care. You love.
Yeah.
You're concerned. Are you perfect? Forget perfect. Perfect doesn't exist.
Yeah. Being there, you can't replace being there. You cannot replace just showing up. And sometimes the answer is simple, but it's not easy. And in this case, just being there, man. Literally just being on the sideline of a soccer game, being in the audience, when they have the little paper plate graduation caps on at kindergarten. I mean, whatever it is, man, soapbox derby. I don't know if they're in the drama club, whatever it is, man. Just being there when when something good happens and when not so good things happen, but just being there and I'm not talking about just being in the room, but being connected as well, which also goes back to, you know, to making sure we're not escaping or there but not there kind of thing. But being engaged, man, the greatest gift we as men, if you're in that position, some men are not called to be dads through their life, and that's okay. But you can be a mentor, and at some point you probably are mentors. We did the rite of passage thing here in my house, and JBK is 24 hours hands on with those guys, the entire 24-hour span. And so, being there and just being present and just giving them a little bit of what you have is crucial, man. You can't replace that at all.
Yeah, if you want to know whether it's important for you to be there as a dad or just a parent, I mean, some of my favorite videos, like if I'm in one of those moods and I need to have a little cry or whatnot, or a little tear up, some of those videos were like, yeah, little kids, they're doing their first little play, or they're doing their first little thing, and that little kid's looking for mom or dad. And then when they see him and they light up, you don't think that's not important to be there? I mean, just look at the look on that kid's face. He's looking for his parents. He's looking for his dad. He's looking for his connection to the world, his caretakers. And when they see him, just watch them light up. And you don't think that that's not important? I mean, just being there, I think, is the most important thing, and just being yourself and leading by whatever example, because the kids are going to take what they're going to take. They have their own personalities. They're going to like certain things. They're going to not like certain things, but you just being there is the most important thing.
Well, and I'm not a girl dad. That probably spared a couple of daughters from a lot of angst. You are a girl dad, Kirk, and I think we slap these labels around way too frequently, but like daddy issues. I mean, we're all guys, so we're talking about being boys and our dads. But like for all the women out there, like daddy issues is just an oversimplification of either dad wasn't there, so they had no benchmark, or dad wasn't the most positive, so the benchmark was in the wrong direction. But fellas, again, like to any daughter on the planet, you are the measuring stick by which she's going to go out into the world to find said partner according to comparing and contrasting what she grew up with and saw with you. So you are exhibit A on what a good man should look like and be like and behave like.
And I mean, here's a truth pill, and this is just being honest. This is just, if we just take the mask off and sit around and have guy talk, advice that I have given to my son, to my soon-to-be son-in-law, probably. My perspective is, you know what? A good man is rarely appreciated while he's there.
Yeah.
A good man is rarely appreciated while he's there. And in most cases, another way to say that is a good man is most appreciated once he's gone. So a lot of times we could be there, we can be present, we can be doing all the things, and we could be pouring into everybody's cup. We could be the man. And you may not necessarily feel like everybody gets it and everybody fully appreciates you being there. I equate it to being like the pillar of a high rise. You don't decorate the pillar of a building. It's just there holding up space, is there holding up the building, it's there holding up the skyscraper. But it's probably just gray and just painted, and it's just kind of off in the corner or in the middle of the room doing its thing. But if something were to happen to that pillar, then that's when you have skyscrapers come crashing to the ground. So us as men, it's great if we get appreciated and all those kinds of things, especially Father's Day. And I mean, it's great when those things happen. And I'm not saying, I'm not just cynical and saying, don't expect it to, it won't. I'm just saying, if it doesn't, you just got to understand that the role that you're filling is a role that's vitally important, but often, not overlooked. Kind of like oxygen in the air. When you ain't got it, all of a sudden you can't breathe.
Yeah.
But that's just the reality that I've realized.
Yeah, one, my perspective on that, I mean, especially from the outside looking in and having all my friends having kids and being fathers and being married and divorced and whatnot, is that it almost seems like nowadays, especially, if you're a good man doing your job, you're probably gonna get hate for it because you're setting boundaries, you're telling them no, you're saying, this is how things need to go. I'm driving this ship, I'm the captain here, and this is how, the best for the family. And these are the things we're gonna do. And it's not until after the fact, like to your point, Kirk, that they go, "Oh, dad was right." They're gonna fight you the whole way. They're gonna cuss you out. They're gonna call you all kinds of names. And then once they get to a certain age, and be like, "Oh, I probably should listen to dad some more."
Yeah, I mean that two things come to mind. One that you're talking about, JBK. I mean, we had a split family for a long time since they were toddlers, infant, and they're about 20 months apart, and each of them ended up having the, as I refer to it, a come to Jesus conversation with me at the
Mhm.
age of 17, where I basically said, I think it's time for you to go live with your mother. Because the conversation was, you might be a man, but you're not the man. And until you get to where I'm at, that's my role. And so I make the rules and set the boundaries. And I'm sorry, and of course, it wasn't this calm. I'm
Mhm.
selling it calmly
Mhm.
now, but it was a
Mhm.
complete thunderstorm on both sides of the ball game for each one of them at that age and me. And afterwards, I went upstairs, curled into a fetal position, and cried my eyes out. What did I just do? But it had to be done. So that's the first thing that
Mhm.
I think about. And then, Kirk, to your point about, it's kind of a thankless job. Yes, it is. And to a bunch of men, fathers out there, I would say, hey, be men. We've got an online community. You want to be a virtual voyeur, as I call it? Great. We have 900 guys in there. Just see what we throw around. You want to make it even more real? The third Wednesday of every month, we've got B-Men Base Camp. Come to Alpha Charlie's Tavern. You don't have to talk. You don't have to buy anything. It's free. Come listen, learn. You got a challenge you need to share and get some support? Awesome. You got a victory you would like to help have somebody celebrate? We'll celebrate you, brother. We got your back.
Mhm.
If the crap hit the
Mhm.
fan, connect, be a part.
Mhm. Dude, that could not have been summed up any better, man, as we bring this airplane in for a landing. And that's the whole core of all of this, man, why it's so important to have other men in your life, whether they're fathers or sons or brothers or whatever. But to have other men in your life is vitally important, man, because we need each other for all of these things, man. And so Zach, give that website again, man, real quick as we get out of here.
Yeah, so go to bmen.org. For the summit, go to bmen.org/summit. And those tickets are going to go on sale, like I was saying, 4th of July, man, your own Independence Day. Come be around
Mm.
great men. And you can go to bmen.org and throw your name down to get on our list, and then we'll invite you. Go to the events section. It will show you when the next Beeman Base Camp is. We do it every month, the third Wednesday. We'd love for you to be a part, man.
Awesome. That is Brett Zachman. I could tell you his middle name too, but that's none of your business because you ain't the government. But that's Brett Zachman, founder of bmen.org. Also, this is my guy, Jason B. Kendrick. I am Kirk M. Samuels, and together we are the Mad Men of Masculinity, trying to make the world a better place. We love each and every one of y'all. And until the next time, we are out.
Out of here.